Okay, so now we have the collision and we send that in the debugger. Now in this lecture, what we're gonna do is create the death animation. There's multiple ways to do that. You might just be able to take one of the courses and see how you create the death animation with a skeletal animation, or you can just program it manually by just, instead of saying debug.log collision, we're gonna do a new function. So we're gonna say death animation. All right, so death animation, and we need to create the death animation. So void death animation. Now, in the original Crossy Road, what they do for the death animation is that they distort the actual model shape. They scale it to a different scale, and we could definitely do this. So we're going to add a trigger saying that if the death is playing. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. First, let's add a new boolean, is dead. Okay, so is dead, and by default it's going to be false, right? And then let's create another boolean, private bool is playing death animation, and put this to true. All right, and actually start with false, and then when we actually play the death animation, we say is playing death animation is equal to true. That's what you do here. And now that we know that, right here in the update, we're going to create the death animation. So here we're going to write update. So if is playing death animation, so if it's equal to true, then what do? We update death animation, and we don't have this function, but we're going to create it. Okay, so create the update death animation. Let's go below, void update death animation, and now we're going to write the logic to create the death animation. There are multiple ways, and one of the way would be to scale it down to a different scale and then also rotate it. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so what we're going to do is work on the scale. If you locate the character right here, go to scene and locate the chicken character, double click there, and you will see that you can play with the scale. Right now the chicken character is right here, and we want to scale it down. How do we do that? You can try it first, just select the scale and try with the X and put it down and see what happens. As you can see, that's one way we can play with, but the best would be to play with probably the Z axis, right? We would make it smaller like that, right? So that'll be part of the animation. Now, the problem with that is that here we're moving the whole chicken, but what we want to do is just the default one, which is just the mesh, right? So you want to play with the Z axis of the mesh and make it like this, and maybe rotate it down or to the side, right? You would want to rotate it to the side by going on the x-axis and make it 90 degrees, right? You would want to do that. So let's go ahead and start this. So let's go back. I'm going to press Command Z and Command Z, so to put it back to where it was. And let's locate the chicken animation. So we have the chicken here, and we need a hold of the default here. So how do we do this? Let's go back to the script and add a hold of the mesh. So write public game object mesh. All right, that will be the actual mesh of the chicken. Save this and go back to Unity and select the chicken, and you will see a new variable for the mesh right here, and select the default and add it to the mesh. Okay, where it says known game object, add it right here. All right, so we have that, and what we're gonna do is mesh, put the mesh down. So look at the default, it's Y, it's 0.7, and actually we want the Z to become 0.1. That probably will do 0.1. So from 0.7 to 0.1, and then the X rotation from 0 to 90. All right, so we're going to do that. Let's go back to programming, and right here we're going to do if if the mesh dot transform dot scale dot, yeah, it's going to be local scale dot that's z, is greater than 0.1. So if it's greater, then what do? We need to make it smaller. So we're going to do mesh dot transform dot local scale dot z minus equal 0.1f. Actually, that might be too fast, so put 0.01f. Alright, and save this. Alright, so now that we have this, and we're going to do else, we're going to stop the animation. How do we do this? Is playing animation is equal to false. So we stop the animation. Now save this, and let's take a look at this in the simulator. Go back to Unity, press play. Oh, it says we have a problem. Local scale, which will be instead of transform, local scale minus equal new vector 3, and that would be just the position on the z-axis. So that would be 0, 0, and 0.01f. Alright? Else, so what we're going to do here is that if it's not greater than 0.1, we're finished. So we're going to say is playing def animation is equal to false. We are finished. Save this, Command S, and now let's play it. Go to Unity and press play, and we're going to trigger the def animation. Boom, and as you can see, it went smaller. Now it went a little bit too slow, so you make it faster. How do you do this? Just go back here and put 0.2, that would be twice as fast. Save that, go back, and let's take a look at it. There you go, as you can see. Now, something that we're missing, we want to make it fall, right? So let's make it fall down. Again, to make it fall down, we're going to play with the rotation on the x-axis. You can make it fall down in the front or in the back. That's really up to you. If you want to make it on the back, put -90, and that's what I'm going to be doing because it looks nicer, so we can actually see the face. Alright, so let's go to the script. If mesh dot transforms dot, that's going to be the rotation, so look for rotation dot Euler angles, because we're going to convert this to degrees so that it goes from 0 to 360, dot x, because we just want the x-axis, if it's equal to 0 or if it's greater than 360. Actually 360 minus 90, or it's greater than 360 minus 90. So what's 360 minus 90? I believe it's 270. Let's see. Yes, 270. Okay, so if it's greater than 270 degrees, then guess what do? We're going to rotate that. So we do mesh dot transform dot rotate, and it's expecting a Euler angle, which is in degrees, and the rotation would be negative, so that it goes in the background. So let's go with -4.0 degrees, 0 degrees for the y and 0 for the z. Alright, and let's try this. Save this, file save, and let's take a look at what's going on here in Unity. Press play, and now that should rotate. Let's see. I'm going to make the collision, and there we go. As you can see, it stopped and worked perfectly. Alright, so far so good. We had the animation. Feel free to zoom in to see it in action. I'm going to do that right here. I'm going to press play. I'm going to go to game, and I'm going to go right in front, and I'm going to go to the scene so that we can see it better. Alright, you guys see the car coming right at us? Alright, let's see. There we go. As you can see, it worked perfectly. Alright, so feel free to arrange that. We can do a lot better, but that definitely will do for an animation.